This is the Hope Not Note podcast,
where we answer your questions and share inspirational stories to fill your soul with hope.
Our mission is to empower hope to those who have been plagued by nope.
I'm Dr. Dylan Caswell.
And I'm Brandy.
And we're here to bring you out of the nope and into hope.
Welcome to the Hope Not Note podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you listen to one of our most recent episodes, you would have heard Dylan's rant about gym etiquette and just the struggle with gym etiquette at times. Yeah, I'm gonna rant a little bit. My biggest pet peeve in a gym, which again, I want to pre-frame this by saying I love that people are getting after it. I love that they're going to the gym, that their physical health is important to them, that they're working out. Like, I love it. So I don't want this little mini rant to make it sound like I don't love that or I don't acknowledge that, because I do, and it's great. Yeah, exactly. But, and this is both like at the gym, but also like we see it on social media. It's like, I don't want to say it's trendy, but like it's a fad. People do it, whatever. But like, may I also say that this is going into the question, and that's why I brought it up. Sorry, I was like,
segue into the rant.
I know what the question is, and so I'm like, I need to get the rant out now so that this podcast can be of value to our great listeners. So the rant is, if you're going to the gym, and when you get to the gym, you're cracking open your drink of 200 plus milligrams of caffeine, and your workout is like a 45-minute workout, you're a fool. Let me just say that. Like, you are not using, like, you're not doing it right when it comes to how caffeine supports you in your goals and how you perform in the gym and as you're working out. And like, we see it all the time where we get to the gym and I'm like, it is unnecessary for you to be cracking open your caffeine drink of choice when you're at the gym. Do it on the way to the gym. Do it, I mean, Dylan's going to get into the details, but not in the middle of working out. It just does not make sense. Unless, I will say this caveat, and I don't think it's the case, but unless you are a second or third shift worker, you just woke up and this is like your caffeine for your morning, even though it's in the afternoon, and after the gym, you're getting into work.
Yeah.
Complete different story. I just do not believe that that is every person at our gym that's doing it. And therefore, that is my biggest pet peeve at the gym, and that is my rant.
Or, if you're a singer.
Yeah.
What's the song? Drink Espresso.
Espresso. By, I'm blanking on her name. Oopsies. Sabrina Carpenter. Yeah, because she drinks Mountain Dewski and she's up late because she's the singer. Yeah.
So second shift.
Yeah, second, third shift. You're up late,
Singers.
whatever.
Today's episode sponsored by Espresso.
Yeah, but just kidding. But maybe it's not a brand, so it could be. We should have had espressos with us. It could have been a thing, but it wasn't. Anyways, that little rant from me, a innocent bystander at the gym that doesn't really have much of an education but knows a little bit, and also is just very like common sense. Maybe it's not common sense. I don't know. Brought to you by Brandy and maybe even espresso. Leads into our awesome question for this podcast episode from a listener named Kate. And we're going to call her Caffeine Kate because Kate asks and knows, I know that caffeine can aid during a workout, but I'm wondering if there's a specific protocol that I should be following. And I just want to say that the protocol is not cracking it open when you get to the gym for a 35-minute workout, because that is not going to help you.
Not the protocol.
Over to you, Doc Dill.
All right. So I'm going to answer it in reverse order, where I give the answer first, and then we get into some stuff afterwards.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah. That way, if Caffeine Kate, she's probably caffeinated. She's like, I need the answer because I got to go work out.
Yeah.
So we'll get right to that. Yes, there is a protocol that you should be using to elicit the best performance effects from caffeine. And the reason that Brandy is ranting about this is because when you ingest caffeine, and granted, it's going to be different if it's like through coffee, through tea, through an energy drink, through a gel, through a gum, like all these things have caffeine in it, and the delivery time is a little bit different between the two. But we get a range of 15 minutes to 45 minutes before you get the effects, the performance effects from that caffeine. So let's say 30 minutes. Like we'll split it in the middle
Hmm.
just as a generality because we don't know what caffeine supplement you're using. But it takes 30 minutes from the time that you ingest caffeine for it to get into your bloodstream and allow you to have the effect for performance that it's going to have. So if you're going to the gym and you're drinking the caffeinated beverage as you're doing the workout, the effects of the caffeine are going to be hitting after your workout.
Yeah. Especially if you're sipping on
If
it.
you're sipping on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then if you're working out towards the end of the day, like let's say you're a first shift worker and you're drinking that caffeine through your workout, and let's say you started your workout at 3 o'clock. And by the time you finish it, the drink, which probably is going to be an energy drink, which probably has 200 milligrams of caffeine in it,
If not more.
caffeine has a half-life of 3 to 6 hours. So we'll just say 5 hours. Make it simple. So it takes 5 hours to almost be cleared out of your system. And that's usually for a cup of coffee, which we're sitting around like what, 80 to 100 milligrams of
Hmm.
caffeine with that. So you had 200 milligrams of an energy drink in there. Like now your sleep quality is going to be greatly impacted because of the caffeine that you had. Like good luck getting into deep sleep that
Hmm.
night when you had that energy drink at that time. So the best protocol, Kate, is to have whatever that caffeine supplement is going to be that prior to your training that you're taking it at least 30 minutes beforehand. And that way it's getting into your system so that when you start your training, competition or whatever it may be, that those effects are hitting then so you can get the biggest performance effect out of it. And you can recover better later because you're not going to be wired from that.
Hmm.
And I remember competing on like Friday nights and having some caffeine to kind of boost the performance. And I would have that caffeine and I would compete at like 8 p.m. and I would just know that like I'm not going to go to bed until after 2 a.m. tonight
Hmm.
because of that. But now my Saturday is going to change because of using it then.
Yeah.
So, that is the protocol is 30 minutes beforehand. And then how much caffeine should you have, right? And the dosage is actually a little bit higher than what a lot of people would think, and it
Mhm.
does come down to like you have to use what's good for you. Like I know myself, and I know if I have over a certain amount, like I'm not getting anything done because I'm too hummingbird. Like I'm like
Mhm.
brr, 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 and I like do not stay focused, and I'm all over the place. And also like heart rate. Like caffeine will increase your heart rate. And so before speaking engagements, I'm very, very strict on the caffeine that I intake
Mhm.
because I know that when I get in front of people, I get really excited to share our message. And if I get that excitement at the same time of the caffeine hitting, I like forget how to talk.
You glitch
I
out.
glitch out. And it's not from being nervous, it's from being too excited that I get like 10 thoughts ahead when I'm supposed to be on this thought. I'm 10 ahead and then I forget where I am. And like I honestly just glitch out. So I like with speaking engagements, I have to be very strict and strategic of when I have that caffeine
Mhm.
because of that. And the same thing is for sports. Like you're coming out onto the competition platform, field, court, ice, whatever it is, you're gonna get this excitement, right? From the fans being there, from like it's almost game time. And so you also want to know like what dose do I take that allows me to not become overstimulated? That when that happens and this hits, then all of a sudden I'm not like, blah, 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 like
Yeah.
where am I? What do I do? Let's
Glitch,
go.
glitch, glitch.
And like too much caffeine is no good
Mhm.
either. Not being alert is also not good for performance.
Mhm.
So the recommended dose tends to be three 3 milligrams per kilogram up to 6 milligrams per kilogram. So if we take a 80 kilogram person, which let's just say that's around like 180 pounds, so 80 kilograms, and we do the lower end of the dose of 3 milligrams per kilogram, that ends up being 8, 6, 24, 240 milligrams of caffeine
Mhm.
for, for, for performance on the lower end of the side, up to 6 milligrams per kilogram on the higher
Wow.
end, which 240 milligrams is a lot of caffeine and for me.
Yeah, I would glitch
It
out.
may not be for other people. We're looking at like 200 milligrams, for example, would be like a cup of tea and a Celsius,
Mm.
like through the day. So some people are like, yeah, that's my normal day.
Yeah.
That's what I do. I know for me that's just that's too much because I'm a little caffeine sensitive, and I
Hmm.
know that about myself because I've kind of played with this. But the dosing is dependent on you and what you need to perform at your best. The timing of it remains the same,
Hmm.
you know, of when are you going to have it before, not during
Yeah.
your performance or your workout. The exception would be at like at halftime if you're like fading off or it's a 2 or 3 hour workout and you're starting to feel that fatigue and feeling sluggish, like okay, you might like pop a caffeine chew or gel to
Mm.
like kind of get that quick or
Or an
like
espresso
or
shot.
a little espresso at halftime to get that boost for the second half of the performance, right?
Hmm.
So that is the time. But like if you have an hour workout scheduled and you're sipping on the caffeinated beverage during the workout and that's at the end of your day, it literally makes no sense.
Yeah.
Like you're not getting the performance effect from it. It doesn't. Earlier in the day, I could see if it's like, hey, I'm working out and I'm drinking this during the day because I have to go to work afterwards, or I
Yeah.
have class afterwards. Like D1 athletes or any college athlete, they're working out in the morning, 6 to 7:30, and then they have class from 9 until 3, and then film study. Like maybe they're sipping on it during the workout because they know like I have a lot left
Hmm.
in front of like the day. But at the end of the day, that's where like the rant
Yeah, that's
goes
where my
off
rant
and comes
goes.
from of like, why are you drinking that now?
Yeah. And don't get me wrong with my rant, like I know that in some situations like this is the case. People do have things that they're getting to after the gym, after the workout, but I think for like general training and just like the people that we see, like you're just a young kid,
Yeah,
you know? Like I don't even you might even be a high schooler. You're not going to a second shift workout right now
right.
or second shift work after this workout at 4 p.m. And
Yeah.
so it's also just the like, I don't know.
Yeah, how much of it is habit? That like
Yeah.
because I'm in this environment, I go to the cooler and I get this energy drink and I get to drink this as I'm working out, and that's almost my reward for being here and working out.
Yeah, but
Um,
also I feel like yes, it can be habit, but it can also be like a thought that they need it
yeah,
in order to perform or like I don't know, it's like I'm a cool kid. So I'm a cool kid and I'm going to sip my drink during the workout and it's
yeah,
like be a cool kid that's smart and have the logic to know that that's not actually going to be helping you.
right.
So don't be a cool kid
You know what's cooler? Moving heavier weight, running faster,
and sleeping.
and sleeping and having better aerobic capacity than your peers. That's
That's
cool.
pretty
That's not
cool.
as cool as walking around with an energy drink in the gym, slugging it with your buddies,
Cool
but
kid caffeine Kate. Here are the
okay,
tips.
caffeine cake. No, just kidding. But really, it's like if you want to use it for performance, you have to use it before the workout.
Yeah.
If you're doing it habitually or to be like the cool kid, I think we would challenge you at Hope Not Nope and ask like, well, what's cool?
Hmm.
Like, what are your priorities? What are your goals? And is this thing aiding you to get there? Or do you think by having a beverage in your hand that makes you look cool? Like, hey, sorry, there's a
Hmm.
lot of beverages that we would say that doesn't make you look cool because
Yeah.
you have it in your hand. But like, how does this serve you in getting to your goal? Do you know what your goals are? Do you know
Hmm.
your values? Do you know your priorities? Like, let's start with that and the caffeine protocol
Yeah.
with it.
Can I ask one follow-up question? I
Yeah.
think I know the answer, but just for the sake of our listeners. So you said that caffeine has I forget the language, but like a shelf life of like 5 hours.
Mhm.
Does that mean that someone who, say, they drink an energy drink or coffee or whatever, say around 1 o'clock, but they have a workout at 3 or 4 o'clock, that caffeine is still plenty enough.
Mhm.
It hasn't really it's almost the same effect that if they would have done the workout at 2 or
Right.
at 4. Like it's the same effect at both of those times. Maybe not if it was like 8 o'clock and you had it at 1,
Right.
but like closer to like that in between, it's still the same effect. So Kate, if Kate's working out at 4 p.m., she could have her drink at 1
Mhm.
and still have a great effect
Yeah.
for it.
And in that she can kind of sip on it. Like she
Hmm.
doesn't have to chug that lunchtime coffee or energy drink. She kind of can sip on it from one to two. I would say the half-life, like it's a half-life. It's half of that dosage being cleared of your system,
Hmm.
right? So half 5 hours half-life. So if you go to bed at 9 o'clock and you have that drink at let's say 2 o'clock, right? Like doing the math from there,
Mm-hmm.
like now half of that dosage has been cleared out. How's that other half going to affect you getting good sleep in there?
Mm.
So, if you have that like 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock bedtime, we would say, hey, if you need a small dose, like 30 minutes before your workout at 5 p.m., like make sure it's a smaller dose so that doesn't impact sleep on the latter half of your day. And I'll also say to that too of like, well, let's quickly talk about how caffeine works, right? So that's where I reverse the answer. Like, okay, let's get to the protocol. So
Kate's got the
Kate's got the
answer.
answer, but then let's talk about like what does caffeine do? Caffeine doesn't actually, it sounds counterintuitive, but it doesn't actually give you more energy. What it does is it blocks this neurotransmitter adenosine from binding to its site. Adenosine, when it binds it, it creates the fatigue, the sleepiness, the like it's time to go lay down, it's time to go rest, right? So when you start feeling sluggish with like an endurance event or something like that, there's an adenosine pileup that's happening. So when you have more caffeine, caffeine blocks those receptor sites, so the adenosine is not able to bind to it. So you're not gaining more energy, you're blocking the fatigue,
Mm.
right? So that when that fatigue or when that caffeine is kind of dosed out, now the adenosine is able to bind and you're able to get more sleep. But if you just keep putting more caffeine into the system, it keeps blocking, it keeps blocking it. Like the adenosine, yeah, it's like, hey, I still want to bind to this thing. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm still having fatigue. So now you need more and more and more caffeine for that.
Mm.
So understanding how the caffeine works is valuable in knowing the protocol of, okay, I know that it's this range. I should have it 15 to 45 minutes before working out or competition or whatever I need to be alert for. I know it's going to be in my system from 3 to 6 hours, and I know that's half of the dose that's going to be circulated out. I still have that other half. So when do I want to time this up and able to get myself to sleep? And that's going to be different per athlete depending on what they need to be doing and what their day looks like. The other part of this that I want to bring up too is that, like, let's talk about the protocol for like different sports, right? There tends to be more performance effect in an aerobic sport than an anaerobic sport. There's still an effect in an anaerobic sport, but an aerobic sport like a um, half marathon, triathlon, a long bike, a long hike, like something that's more endurance based, the performance effect is a little bit better for that because of the accumulating adenosine and caffeine blocking it. For anaerobic events, it can still be helpful, but anaerobic, it's usually shorter distances or shorter time domains that you can use the caffeine to get like a spike
Mm.
and then go for it. But you probably like you may not need as high as a dose as more of an endurance based type sport.
Interesting.
So that and the last point I'll put into here too is there like athletes always want to know like Kate's asking like what is the best way for me to use this to get the best performance because that's what I care about is being the best performing athlete. Like also look at yourself as a human. Like you're a
Mm-hmm.
human that is an athlete. But like if you're taking huge doses of this, how's that impacting the rest of your body? And we know that lack of sleep is a nasty thing and what that can do later on in a person's life. So like yes, performance, but also like can we have a little bit more of a balance between performance and health? And when you're performing at a really high level, sometimes health gets a little bit put lower, but there is a way that we can do this that is improving health and performance,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then that's by having protocols and having science to guide these decisions. But also, people will cycle off of caffeine, thinking that if they cycle off of it and then go back to it around competition, then they'll get a bigger boost
Mm.
in it. And the research has not shown that to be the case. So
Mm.
you don't have to cycle off of it and cycle back onto it. Um, I would honestly recommend of like the bigger thing is knowing when to ingest it and how much for you that you should be ingesting and what source you're getting it from. Yes, it's caffeine. We know it's like the same caffeine like chemical profile, but I do think the delivery is a little bit different between coffee, between tea, between a chewable, between an energy drink, and that could be psychological. But in any case, you should know which one you respond to so that you can use that in the best way to help your performance.
Mm-hmm.
If you've never had an energy drink before and you're going into like a big game or a big event in the workplace, probably not the time to experiment with a new energy drink.
Yeah.
Like you don't know how you're going to react to that. So, you know, like anything else, like prepare with it and know exactly how much you need or how much serves you the best to have the best performance that you can.
I also think too, the my last like thought on this in regards to like what type of caffeine
Hmm.
you choose to use and how it affects you, like I think of like the glitching out, right? And an iced this might be like my own whatever, but like an iced coffee hits me different than a regular coffee. It can be the same like latte from the same place, one's iced, one's not. It hits me different. Um that very much hits me different from like an energy drink. But then also not just like in how I feel and how I perform and like my glitchiness, to for lack of a better word, but also like how many times I need to use the restroom after.
Yeah.
And like
Yeah.
that is a huge thing that if you're going to a specific performance or event or whatever, knowing how it's going to affect your bladder and how often you have to go to the bathroom, like that's something you should know ahead of time as well as an athlete who's about to go compete
Yeah.
and really testing that too. I just want to like lay that out there. I know for me, like I get the nervousness of the workout. Like if I'm going not the workout, but like the event, like
Yeah.
I feel like I have to go to the bathroom because I'm nervous and like excited. But then also like if I had the extra caffeine in a different way than what I'm used to, that might affect that as well. And you don't want to have to go to the bathroom 6 times in a 10-minute time span.
Right. Yeah. And to adding on to that too, and like I'm thinking of like our tactical athletes that they have testing and it's a lot of events in a day. And a fitness athlete or an athlete that's like doing the decathlon where there's a
Mhm.
lot of events or spaced out or like basketball tournament. But let's say it's like one day, for an example, that you have 8 events. You don't want to take your dose of caffeine all at once.
Mm-mm.
Like you want to space that out between those events because the first one you're excited. It's like yeah, we're getting after it good. By that sixth, seventh, eighth event, that's when you really start to feel
Yeah.
sluggish, and that's where you'll maybe want to start like having more of a boost
Hmm.
from the caffeine. So don't slug it all in the morning, but like if you have those days that are like a long competition or a lot of events, kind of space it out
Hmm.
throughout it to get those performance effects.
Yeah, I think of sorry, we just keep ranting. It's fun. But I think of like that one competition that you went to a couple years ago in the CrossFit world and you watched a guy slug like
Three bangs.
yeah, 3 bang energy drinks in one day. Like I wouldn't necessarily do that. Maybe just one, but over a few hours would have been more helpful. Maybe not because he did well, but he was like
Yeah.
kind of psycho.
Yeah, it's a lot. And last point, and then we'll go to our hope stories.
Yes,
The
I'm
last
excited to
point
hear yours.
is like energy drinks are just more and more popular. Like it's hard. It might be harder now to find a beverage that doesn't have caffeine in it than one that does have it in
It
there.
is harder. We look in the
Yeah,
grocery
yeah,
store.
yeah. And it's just become consumed more. It's being consumed at younger ages. It used to be like coffee and tea were
Hmm.
like the caffeine, and now it's like everywhere.
Yeah.
And a huge global market size of it. And what I will say is just if you're using energy drinks for your caffeine performance effects, um, great. Like people don't like coffee, people don't like tea, so they like energy drinks. Like that's great. Just know what's in it,
Hmm.
right? Like when Celsius came out, it was super popular. Everyone was like, "Oh, it's healthy for you. It's organic. It's this and that." Like, "Oh, really?"
Look at all the
Because it's
vitamins.
banned from the NCAA list because like they were reporting 200 milligrams of caffeine on it, but they don't actually know how much is in there because of the substance that they used in it that it actually may be more than that. And I think since then they've like cleared it up and it's like good now. But to see all these people drinking Celsius thinking that like, oh, it's a healthier alternative, it's organic, non-GMO, and there's this and that in it, like, no.
Yeah.
Like you gotta be careful with a coffee, like you know what you're getting.
Well, I
With a
also,
tea, you know what you're
yeah.
getting. With an energy drink, with all these different things on there, like you don't know what's actually on there, and you don't know what it's actually made with. That maybe not isn't reported on there because is it being regulated or not?
Right. And with not to like bash Celsius and other drinks as well, but some of them promote themselves as a healthier alternative
Mhm.
because of all these different vitamins. I know someone that would buy cases of Celsius because they thought it was just like a vitamin drink, not knowing that there was caffeine. So they were giving their 14 and 15-year-olds one or two of them a day, thinking like, oh, it's they're getting more vitamins. This is great. It's not a soda, it's not a pop, it's this like vitamin drink. They didn't care to look and see that it was promoting like that caffeine's on it because they're seeing the pretty picture versus the caffeine content. And like, I don't know. I don't read every label of everything, but
Yeah.
like know what you're feeding your children when they're 14 and they're not allowed to have a cup of coffee because they'll go crazy with caffeine, and then you give them
Celsius.
Celsius. Like that is bonkers. It's
Yes,
bonkers.
it's bonkers. It is bonkers. And I will say, like, some drinks you have to search and see, like, how much caffeine is this. Other ones put it loud and proud right
Yeah.
on the front of it, like,
Facts.
we have this much caffeine in it. And it depends on their sales and marketing of like
Yeah.
what they want to do. And again, not saying like one is better than the other in the energy drink world, just know
Yeah.
which one you're doing, how much, what the dosage is that you're consuming. And if you think you're drinking something that doesn't have caffeine in it, do a quick check on the back label and just make sure
Yeah.
that it's there.
Well, Caffeine Kate, we're gonna dive into our hope stories now. You want to kick us off?
Why don't you go first because I gotta think of what mine's gonna
Okay.
be.
Um, if you listen to our last episode, we are currently, working on our deck,
Mm.
and that's what I had shared about breaking the mallet, which was really fun. Um, in addition to that, the wind here in upstate New York has been the most wild that I have ever seen. Granted, we're this isn't a hurricane by any means, but I haven't looked up the miles per hour that it goes.
Mm.
Needless to say, multiple sections of our fence is currently down, which can be a little annoying in the sense of like, our fence is not there. But what's been really cool is, we haven't gotten around to getting it fixed up completely. And our neighbor, we've shared about him in the past. He will play football in our front yard and things like that. He came and knocked on our door the other day and asked if he could go shoot hoops on our basketball court. So naturally we say yes because like of course we're gonna say that. But what we did not know was going to happen was that all of his little buddies were gonna come over and play basketball as well. And I don't think they ever would have done this had they not been able to climb over the fallen fence. Like there was literally like six maybe
Yeah,
people, like kids under the age of like 12 playing basketball on our basketball court in our yard. But typically the fence is up, so if they wanted to do that, they'd have to ask and they'd have to go through the doors and the
right.
gate.
Yeah.
Where now they just like climbed over the fallen fence. And I just think like what a like it's obviously we're gonna fix the fence, but it was cool to see these kids like not afraid to go into their neighbor's yard. I mean, they asked, but like to not to be afraid to come over to the neighbor's yard and play and things like that. It's just we have shared multiple times that we love to see like the neighborhood alive,
Yeah.
and I just thought it was hilarious that they literally walked over the fallen fence to come play in our yard.
Yeah. And lowered the hoop so that they could dunk. But
Yes.
then when the taller kid came over, they put it back up again so he couldn't dunk. And I'm like sitting there watching this while working on the deck, and it was just
It was
it was
awesome.
hysterical. It's like that's what a basketball court should be used for
Yeah.
and look like. Like it was fun.
Mhm.
All right, so my hope story is tying it back to earlier about glitching out if I have too much caffeine and going into a speaking engagement because I love doing that and sharing the message. But there's one we did previously, and this sweet older woman, she bought a book and she was in a wheelchair, and her, I forget, I think it was her son was like with her and brought her up to the table for me to sign the book. And I thanked her. I was like, wow, thank you for supporting and buying our book. And she goes, oh, yes, thank you for being here. I loved your talk. And so we get talking, and I was like, I hope you enjoy reading it. And she's like, yeah, I can't see very well, so I don't think I'm going to be able to actually read it. She's like, I just wanted to support you. And I was like, oh, I'm like, like we have an audiobook, and I have some links that I'll send it to you for free so you can listen to it. And she goes, I don't hear very well either. And I was like, oh my gosh, she literally is just like supporting
Mm.
and like bought the book with knowing that like she can't read it, and I'm like maybe she'll pass it to her sons or something, but she enjoyed the talk and wanted to show her love and support, and the way that she wanted to do that was by purchasing a book to
Mm.
help our business. And it's just a memory that is in my brain and will always be in my brain because her smiling and telling me like I can't see very well.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, it was so precious. And so anyway, we were at a recent mass at church, and there's a part in the mass in which we get to extend peace to everyone that's around us. And I looked over and I realized that she was at the end of our pew,
Mm.
and I got to like give her a little peace sign, like may peace be with you. And she looked at me and like we made eye contact, and I'm pretty sure that she like remembered
Wow.
that like the talk in the book, and she got so excited in her
Oh.
chair and just was like, oh, may the peace be with you. But it just brought back that memory
Yeah.
of being with her. I was like excited to know that she's still here,
Yeah.
because like
She's probably in her
she'd
90s.
be in her
Yeah.
90s, and just to see like the excitement, and
Oh,
it was beautiful.
that is so heartwarming.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
I love that. Aw.
Yes. Well, thank you for listening. And if you made it to this point, you probably did not have caffeine.
Not directly before, or maybe they just finished their caffeine because they were sipping on it throughout the episode.
That's nice. Or they had it earlier, 3 minutes in, want to the next task, and they'll come back and they'll keep doing it in 3 minute increments, depending on how much caffeine
Yes.
that they've had. And if
Yes.
they glitch out,
Yeah.
like I do and you do, and
We do.
when we have it. But thank you for listening. Have a great week. And remember, every day is not just a day to be hopeful, but an opportunity to become hope.
The Hope Not Know podcast is meant for educational, informational, and personal development purposes only and does not constitute any health or medical advice. If you're looking for specific advice, connect with us to work with a Hope coach. The Hope Not Know podcast shall not be liable or responsible for any loss or damage allegedly arising from any information or suggestions in this podcast.